Welcome back to the program for another episode of Football on the Barbie. As always, I'm your host, Jake Seymour, joined with Caiden Bodak. Caiden, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Not too bad. Got a lot of college football stuff, a lot of NFL news coming. I love this time of the year. Always coming back right to football. We're about 2 weeks away from the start of the NFL season. I know ASU opens up in just under 2 weeks, so I'm excited for that. But Caiden, there's some news coming out. The Athletic is reporting that the Big Ten, ACC, and Pac-12 are forming an alliance. In the Athletic, they were calling this almost like a merge, but I just want to start with the wording of it. An alliance is a weird word to use for this. I know we talk about this off air, but an alliance to me sounds not like a merge that they're going to create one big conference, but instead it's going to be more of helping each other out and having three separate entities and just everybody helping each other out. I'm also not sure either how this would work because you have three different leagues and how, the power, how does that get distributed? Because you're going to have one league formed together. Caiden, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think what you're going to see, I think they're using the word alliance because that is just because it's going to be more football specific. A merger would be conferences literally merge into one mega conference and all the sports play under that mega conference, whatever that is. I think the alliance is going to be more football related. We saw this with the Big East like 10 years ago. They had a basketball conference with like UConn and all those schools. And then they had a football side of their conference, which was just football. And that was like Louisville, Miami, West Virginia, all that. So I think that's what you're going to see. I think the ACC, Big Ten and Pac-12, they're going to stay intact for all their other sports, but you're going to see a kind of football only conference with all those teams. And they're just kind of going to, fill a 10-game schedule with those teams.
Yeah, just reading from the Athletic now, reading from the report from Nicole Arabak. She says the Big Ten, Pac-12, and ACC are expected to make a formal announcement about the alignment soon, perhaps as early as next week, multiple sources told the Athletic. It's not clear how specific the announcement will be because there are so many details to iron out, although administrators in all three leagues have stressed in recent conversations the issues of governance can be and should be front and center. So, Katie, you could do something like that with just a football league, but at the same time, too, you need to have a whole different board. And I know, like you said, the Big East didn't. I think it worked well for the Big East for a little bit.
It did, yeah.
And it helped them a lot with revenue. And especially now you have, Texas and, both Texas schools leaving the Big 12 and heading towards the SEC. And the SEC, once again, is becoming even stronger and, the premier football league. Like, it's getting to the point now where you have Division I football and then you have the SEC. The SEC is just such a step up between every Division I football league because it's all the talent is there now, especially now with endorsements. Like, why wouldn't you want to go play for the SEC?
Yeah. I don't think having a separate board would be a big issue. And I think that there's enough people to go around. And if you think about it, the person that's dealing with Ohio State football right now is not, they have separate people. Obviously there's an AD and everything, but the person that's dealing with Ohio State football is not also dealing with their hockey program and their basketball program. That's all separate, besides for an AD. I don't know. Jake, did you hear any of that?
I think I lost connection.
Yeah. You want me to repeat that?
Yeah. What were you saying?
So what did you ask me again? I was just talking about how, so you mentioned how they're going to if they're doing a football only conference, how they're going to have like a separate board for the football conference part. But I don't think that's a big issue because if you think about it, each school has an AD. The AD oversees all the athletics, obviously, but then within that, you have your separate programs. The person that's dealing with the logistics of Ohio State football isn't also dealing with the logistics of the soccer team, the basketball team, the hockey team, etc. They're just football. And I think if you just got all those guys together and, focused on football only, that's fine. It's not really a change. You're just kind of categorizing those guys more into a conference. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but now you have, instead of having everyone being on one conference, you have the football team in three different conferences now. It's not one big group anymore. It's two separate groups.
No, it would be one big, but they're not communicating anyways. The people that are in, because the only people that would be splitting would be the football team. So every other sport that Ohio State has, that Michigan has, that Arizona State has, whatever, is staying within the Pac-12, within the Big Ten. They're not changing at all.
Yeah, their football school is, but then it's gonna be a power grab, I feel like, between all three of them because the Pac-12 doesn't want to lose its power with this team. So is the Big Ten and the ACC. They're not going to want to lose what they have right now with their football teams. And I think in Alliance, I think it's going to be good, but I'm worried more so, like I said in that report from the Athletics, that how is it going to sort of with all the powers between the three leagues? I mean, you
You're
have
telling
to do
me
something. You need to have a league that can compete with the SEC, and you don't have that right now. So
you're
this
telling
alliance
me
needs to happen.
Yeah, you're telling me that Arizona State wouldn't want to have Ohio State and Clemson on their schedule each year for football?
I'm not talking about the individual colleges. I'm talking about the board of the league, the entire league that controls the football, like the Pac-12 board that does football. That's going to be a power grab between and a power difference between the other two leagues. They're not going to want to lose power between the two of them. So now you have three boards. They only need to come together to be one. The higher ups on one board and the big board may be lower. And they don't want to be lower and lose power like that. Why
Yeah, but
would you want to be that?
I think with three times the amount of teams, you're still going to need three times the amount of people. I think the power, I don't think that that's an issue. And I think if you look at it from the AD's perspective, which the AD rules and the schools rule, it's just so much better. I think this alliance, something like that would be inevitable because it's just so much better for the schools. And I
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
think the AD of or the president of Arizona State cares about Joe Schmo on the Pac-12 board for football. He's going to lose power. They don't care about that. I
Maybe
think it's just better for the schools.
it's definitely better for the schools. I mean, any school that says no, I don't want to do that. That's in these three leagues. I mean, you have to go to that because you're going to fall into the dust. Because like I said earlier, like there's Division One football, and then there's SEC football. SEC football is just blowing Division One football out of the water, and nobody can compete with that.
Yeah.
And you go back to the college playoffs. How many times have we seen playoffs with a bunch of SEC teams?
Yeah.
Like that. That's just the norm now. So you
Yeah. I
need to
think I
have
saw
teams be able to
today.
get in there, and if that means eliminating taking three leagues and turning it into one, and you can have more teams maybe from other leagues make it. That'd be great.
Yeah, and then to go along with the possibility of expanding the playoff, I think that this is perfect because you're not losing, let's think about it. The Pac-12 is a great baseball conference, right? So if you have that, you're not losing any of that. You're not losing the powerhouse conference for baseball, but you're just strengthening your football programs. With this separate football conference, I think, it worked for the Big East. I can't see why it can't work here.
Yeah, I hope it goes through because I think it's gonna be something that the schools need. Like I said, you're not going to be able to compete with the Alabamas. Obviously, the Texas schools that just went to the SEC,
Yeah,
Auburn,
Oklahoma.
two evens in there, like all those teams, right? So, everybody just needs to get together and band up. It's going to be like game tackling the SEC. Who can take them down, who can compete with them, and it's a collaborative effort. It's not going to be one school doing it. It's not going to be two schools doing it. It's going to be 2 to 3 leagues doing it.
Yeah, and they can agree on whatever they want. I think, you're still going to see even the merger with the SEC, Oklahoma and Texas going there. That's not going to happen until like 2025, 2030. So I think, all this stuff has time to pan out, but I definitely think that's inevitable that this alliance is going to happen.
I hope it happens. That'd be great for the league. But switching gears to the NFL, a lot of news going on with NFL quarterbacks, NFL rookies, and look no further than the New England Patriots to have their quarterback battle heading into Week 1. Mac Jones, Cam Newton. This battle has been neck and neck basically all year. The two of them have been competing. If you read one report one day, Cam Newton won. The next day, Mac Jones won. Cam Newton, Mac Jones. It's going back and forth between the two of them. So, Caiden, I want to know, who do you think should start Week 1 and why?
Who do I think should start and who will start? Two completely different things. I think Cam Newton's going to start. I think Bill Belichick just loves Cam Newton, and I think he would hate to be wrong. And wrong would be starting Mac Jones and Mac Jones being good. And then you're like, why did you sign Cam Newton to this extension or this another contract, whatever? Cam Newton, he's been with the first team this whole time in training camp. He's had a full training camp with the first team, and Mac has not. So I think it's just Cam Newton's team. But I do think Mac Jones should start because their team is good. Mac Jones is good. He's proven that in preseason. I know it's preseason, but he's looked solid. He should have had a touchdown last night, but he's dropped by the ASU bum, N'Keal Harry, because ASU can't produce good football players. Anyways,
I feel attacked by that statement.
no, I know that was a low blow. I'm sorry because Auburn can't either. So, anyways, uh, uh, Yeah, I think Mac Jones, Cam Newton will start. I think Mac Jones should start because let's be honest, I think week five, because I think they play the Bucks in week 4. So I think week 5, Mac Jones starts for this New England Patriots team, and he starts for the New England Patriots for the next 10 years. This is Mac Jones's franchise, and I think just letting him sit out for 4 weeks is useless, especially when you're not going to win a Super Bowl this year, anyways.
Aiden, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Weren't you one of the people? In fact, I think you might have made a reel that I may have edited for you. Weren't you one of the people that said the New England Patriots should stay away from Mac Jones because Alabama cannot produce quarterbacks? So
Yes.
have you flipped? So have you conceded the take? What I'm asking.
I don't think. Yeah, 10 years.
No,
is
you
a stretch.
conceded the take. You
No,
conceded
I
the
have
take.
not. I
Yes,
have
you
not.
have. You
No,
just said.
I
You
would
just
much
said.
rather stop. I'd much rather Kellen Mond. I stand by that. Mac Jones has
Okay,
looked
cool.
good. I would much rather Kellen Mond still.
But I
do
wouldn't
think,
disagree with you. Mac has looked great though.
but I do think that he will be. I do get nervous. I think Mac Jones looks great, but just the way, still, if you go back, just the way the NFL's trending with these QBs and watching him more in NFL preseason, he can move outside the pocket a little bit. And, can he make his living kind of Tom Brady-esque? I don't think so, which is why I don't think he will last with the Patriots. Or successfully, but 10 years, I guess 10 years is a long time, maybe 5.
So we've gone from don't take Mac Jones at all to 5 years to 10 years, and now I'm back to 5.
To 5, yeah.
So I just want you to say on record, you conceded the take.
Yeah, I still don't think he's going to be a successful NFL quarterback.
But you concede the take because you want him to start for the Patriots.
Yeah, he's going to be like Kirk Cousins.
So you concede the take.
I was wrong.
It's all
Yeah,
good. It was funny.
I think he's going to be like a Kirk Cousins. He's going to be good but the defense is going to win them. What's going to win them, and I think that there's no harm in starting Mac Jones week 1.
I just really love those takes that we saw, and Caiden, you're not the only one. A bunch of guys in the Boston media did it. You always see, oh, Mac Jones can't do this, can't do that. Don't take Mac Jones, and then all of a sudden, with the 15th overall pick in the NFL draft, the New England Patriots select Mac Jones, and then Boston media blows up. Mac Jones is being compared to Tom Brady. He's the next best thing. And now we're at the situation with the quarterback battle. And there are people in the Boston media rambling on about how, Mac Jones should start. But in April before the draft, they were like, don't touch him. Don't touch him with a 10-foot pole. And I love the flip-flop because I think it's hysterical.
Yeah, you kind of got to persuade yourself,
Yeah, you got to persuade
yourself
one way. Right?
I'm a Patriots fan through and through, so I want him to do good,
Of course. But I'll tell you what, Mac Jones should not start week 1. It's
Why?
Cam Newton's ball team. You know why? You know who you have coming in week 4 to Gillette Stadium for the first time in basically your NFL existence? The GOAT, Tom Brady, is coming back to Boston, to Foxborough, to take on the New England Patriots. Tom Brady is going to embarrass this team. Like, no joke. They're going to be embarrassed. They're going to be blown apart. The New England Patriots will lose that game by a lot. It's going to be embarrassing. Okay? You put Mac Jones in that spotlight. You start him week 1. You have to start him week 4. The national media is going to be covering that game at Sunday Night Football. Mac Jones is going to be embarrassed by the Buccaneers because the Buccaneers defense wants to win the game for Brady. And now all of a sudden, Mac Jones' confidence is shattered. The national media, you're going to see headlines. The successor versus Tom Brady, the heir apparent to Tom Brady. And Mac Jones is going to always be compared to Tom Brady because that's just how it is. He's the next guy up. But I don't want Mac Jones anywhere near the field on week 4. In fact, I want him up in the luxury box with Robert Kraft. I don't want him anywhere near this field because I don't want this kid's confidence to be shattered. You go into week 4, you lose. You're going to lose. You might be 2-2. I don't think you're going to be 3-1. People think that, but 2-2 I think is a good record to have. Week 5, you go to Houston. That's when you start Mac Jones. You don't start him the first 4 weeks. You don't want him going up against Brady or the Bucs. And if you're Bill Belichick, you kill any narrative that there's the possibility of him starting because you don't want the national media to cling to any of that. Mac Jones should not start for the first 4 weeks.
You think him having a bad week 4 against the best football player of all time in his rookie season would diminish his confidence to the extent that it would affect him for the rest of his career?
Yeah, but it's not having the bad performance. It's what ESPN The Athletic, and I'm naming those because those are the big markets that cover the NFL. There's nothing wrong with those companies. I read their work. I love their work. My point is though is that companies like that, the big national media, is going to cling on to that and they're going to blast it out. Same thing on talk radio. All the radio stations in Boston is going to see that and they're just going to blast out narratives like that, which is fine. That's what sports journalism is all about. But you don't want that on Mac Jones' record. His fourth game in his career is going to be against the greatest quarterback, the greatest football player to ever put on a jersey, put on the cleats, put on the shoulder pads. You don't want Mac Jones near that. You don't even want him dressed.
Are we forgetting that he played at the University of Alabama? You don't think he faced any type of scrutiny?
Yeah, but no, Caiden, you know that and I know that. Nothing would compare to him starting week 4 and losing. And the narratives that will come off from that.
See, honestly, I think that'd be good for him. But nobody expects, that's the thing though. Nobody expects him to win. With Cam Newton,
it's not that. It's the fact that you don't want him competing and then losing, and then the kid's confidence is shattered. Because then what's going to happen is if he comes out, like I said, the Bucs defense want to win for Tom Brady. They're going to have the biggest scheme ready for that. And Tom Brady's been in Josh McDaniels' offense for close to 20 years now. 15, 20 years, right? So he knows the offense front and back. He's going to be giving them tips. He wants the defense to do well so he can win.
I think it's different.
And he's going to know how to compete against Mac Jones and know the scheme and know where the defense needs to be to limit Mac Jones. Mac Jones is going to have a bad game. Now his confidence is like rock bottom. And I don't know if he can come back from that.
But do you think it's good? So he knows that. So say you're Mac Jones. I think you know that. I think you're like, oh shit, Bill doesn't think that I'm good enough to play against Tom Brady. Okay, I'm a rookie. And now you get blown out. You're like, and say Cam Newton goes like, I don't know, like 9 for 29 for 100 yards and 3 interceptions, whatever, plays terrible. And you're like, and you're sitting there, Mac Jones, you're like, Bill didn't think I was a 15th overall pick in the draft, and Bill didn't think I could do better than him.
I don't think it's that though. I don't think Mac would think like that. Because he's getting his reps. He's getting his reps in practice.
He's getting second team reps.
Yeah, but he has almost close to the near passes that Newton has thrown. He's close in those numbers. He's gotten reps with the first guys. He just went out last night and played a great game. Yeah. It's not like as much as I hate to say it, because I wanted him to start last year, it's not like Jarrett Stidham. Stidham didn't get anything that Mac Jones got. I think Mac Jones may have more reps in practice than Stidham has had in his whole career in New England.
I think it's different too. You're talking about like a 5th, 6th rounder and then a 1st rounder too.
Well, of course, that's how it is in the draft. But still, like we looked at this and said last year and said Stidham's going to be the guy. Cam's going to come and replace Brady, and then Stidham's going to slide in. Well, now Stidham's hurt. Mac Jones is here. And if you want to put a new quarterback in there, put Stidham or Brian Hoyer in. Put in game managers. They can be game managers. Wow. Sure, do that. Don't put Mac Jones in this game. You're gonna.
I think even with Cam Newton, speaking of game managing, they're gonna run Damian Harris into the ground. They're gonna run Damian Harris in the ground for the rest of the year because they're gonna lean on their defense. I don't care who you are. I don't care if it's Mac Jones or Cam Newton under center, whatever. I think Damian Harris is going to be ran into the ground because they're going to rely on this defense. That's the strength of this team. And I think regardless of who's quarterback week 4, you're going to see the same thing.
Hey, you might be right, but the running scheme is going to be big in this Patriots offense. It was big last year. And, week 4 is where Cam Newton started to fall off a little bit. Week 5, he started to fall off a little bit, right?
Didn't he get COVID though?
Yeah, he had COVID, but even like past COVID, I don't think COVID played a huge role. Like I think it played a significant role, but I don't think it was as big as people make it to be. I saw him throw football at people's feet, like stuff like that, and he's had shoulder problems. So
shoulder was shot.
Stuff
That's
like
what
that.
It was. It wasn't COVID.
So his shoulder can't make it through an NFL season. Now this year you add that extra game onto a 16-game season. Now it's a 17-game season with only 1 bye week. That's a recipe for disaster.
No,
that's why I said you start him for the first 4 weeks. You have Miami, which would be a good game. Then you have New Orleans, Jets, and Bucs. You aim for 2-2 at that point. Then you throw Mac Jones in a week 5 and say, here you go.
You don't think they can go 3-1?
No.
You don't think
I think they lose to Miami, and I think they lose to the Bucs. If they lose to the Jets, that's an embarrassment to the franchise. New Orleans, you should win that.
If they lose to the Jets, you're firing Bill Belichick. I do not care.
I don't know about that. It's a little excessive.
No, you're firing Bill. They don't lose to the Jets.
Well, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. But moving on to another quarterback, Andy Dalton or Fields. Andy Dalton had an interesting clip that he had. I'm gonna pull it out and play for you guys because it was very interesting what he had to say. Here's a clip.
Who I am. I know who I was created to be. I know where my identity lies, and so. Do I want the fans behind me and this team and all that kind of stuff? Yes. Do I want them behind Justin? Absolutely, I do. But that's not my focus. I can't focus on all that right now. Like I said before, Justin's going to have his time and Justin's going to have a great career. But right now it's my time. And so my focus is on being the best player I can be for this team and do everything I can to help this team win.
I love that quote from Andy. It's so perfect. It's perfect because it's the perfect quote you want for somebody who's the bridge guy. Andy Dalton's coming in. He just wants to do his job. It's his team. He wants to win for the Bears. Now, you let him do his thing, and he's helping Fields. Fields will do his thing, and when Fields is ready, and Andy Dalton's, not, and they surpass him, Andy Dalton's going to get benched, and Fields is going to come in. But it's funny that a guy like Andy Dalton will do that. But when the Patriots tried doing that with Jimmy G, and he just got Tom Brady's like, no, get him away.
Those quotes sound like a bridge guy to you?
Andy Dalton, yeah. He said it's my team
time
now.
Is now. That's not a bridge guy.
Yes. No.
Saying my time is now. I'm going to win for this football team. That's not a bridge guy. A bridge guy says my time. I'm going to teach Justin the ropes and he's going to take over mid-season. That's what a bridge guy says.
No, that's not what he said though.
Not Justin's going to have a great career 2 years down the road and I'm going to take this football team and send them to the playoffs. That's not what a bridge guy says. And these quotes by Andy Dalton are a guy who is scared for his life and knows that he will not be in the NFL next year. That's all this is.
No,
he's scared of Justin Fields.
I don't know if scared is the correct word to use there, but I will say this: it will be Justin Fields' team, maybe this season, maybe next season. But regardless, as of right now, August 20th, it's Andy Dalton's team. It's Andy Dalton's job to lose. You don't want to start with Fields week 1. Do you do someone with Mac where, like I said before, where you put Fields in at week 5, week 4, whatever? Sure, of course. But right now, you want Fields to get into the NFL season, realize the grind, get used to it, and then when he's adjusted to that, then you say, all right, here are the keys, Fields, go at it.
He was the face of college football. He knows the grind.
Yeah, but okay, me and you both know college football and the NFL game are two totally different games. You can't just expect anybody. I don't care if he's Tom Brady, Peyton Manning. The Tom Brady only threw 3 passes his rookie year. He had nothing, and he played behind Drew Bledsoe.
He also played
It takes a while for guys like that to get adjusted to the NFL level. So if you have Andy Dalton come in and play, even if he plays the entire year, let Fields get adjusted to the offense, adjusted to the grind, have a full offseason, an NFL offseason ahead of him, where he doesn't worry about the draft, the combine, any of that stuff. He can do whatever he needs to do to get ready for next season. Then you put him in, and Andy Dalton's your backup next year. It's a perfect quote by Andy.
10 years ago, Jake, I would agree with you. Because the way they're coaching in the NFL now is changing. I agree that these guys are bigger, stronger, faster. But you saw this with Justin Herbert last year, and you're seeing this now more often. These guys are NFL ready. Why are these quarterbacks NFL ready? Because these head coaches and offensive coordinators are realizing that in order for these guys to have success, they have to build a system around them. If Justin Fields, right, was good at Ohio State with their offense, why would we take Justin Fields out of that offense where he had success and throw him into another thing? They're just going to keep an offense. They keep a college style offense, just like every team in the NFL is doing right now. And they're just going to build that offense around Fields. Fields and Dalton have two completely different play styles. I think the way the NFL is trending right now, you don't put the QB in the offense. You build the offense around the QB and to their strengths. So I just think, I think Fields will be ready.
If the Bears are building the team around Fields, they just have Andy Dalton in there. Now, it's the same thing with the Patriots with Cam Newton and Mac Jones. They're building the team around Mac Jones and going to have a Mac Jones play style offense. But Cam Newton doesn't fit that play style, but he's the guy right now. So Andy Dalton's going to be like that guy. Now with Fields, of course, you get the legs with him, you get the ability, the mobility in the pocket. You don't have that with Dalton, right? So, plays like that, maybe plays that Fields could have ran for a first down, you're not going to get with Dalton. But that's okay because you can show it to him on film and say, look, Dalton couldn't do it, but that's your play. You can run the 5 yards, get a first down here.
So
nobody's open.
So why wouldn't you respond with that? If you're Justin Fields, why wouldn't you be like, all right, well, why don't I? and you're like, no, you're on the bench. You got to watch him and say, oh, I could have done that. Like, that's not good for you.
Yeah, but he needs to get adjusted to it. I don't think any rookie quarterback should play week 1, unless if you're in a poverty franchise like the Jacksonville Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence. You don't want to start. And honestly, Trevor Lawrence is a generational talent, but I mean, there's an argument to be made that Gardner Minshew should start over Lawrence.
Yeah,
there really is.
And I mean, also they also think that the moon landing was fake and it still happened. So I don't really understand. Urban Meyer did come out and say that they are splitting first team reps every other practice. He said that they have not had made their decision on week 1 starter. But I do think Lawrence is the guy. But I mean, to go back to, I just think Fields is ready. I really do. And I think that, with the relationship Nagy and Dalton have, and I made a video about this yesterday, you sit Fields, you have Dalton, you go 10-7 or 11-6, you make the playoffs, and you're like, ooh, Andy Dalton. We can do something with Andy Dalton. We don't need Justin Fields. You don't want that in Matt Nagy's head. No, you have a young running back in David Montgomery. You strengthen up that offensive line in the draft next year, and you are set with Justin Fields. I think getting Justin Fields first team reps this season doesn't hurt them at all. I think it just furthers his development than sitting back and watching a guy who can barely move and has a completely different play style that's irrelevant in today's NFL play.
Well, look at a guy like, this is a more recent example. Look at Patrick Mahomes. He played 1 game and threw for 22. He had 22 completions, right? 35 attempts. Okay, you can do that with Fields. Put him in towards the end of the year. Let him get a game in and then go to the offseason. You don't need to start Fields right now. This narrative of starting rookie quarterbacks right now, and Caiden, I get what you're saying, that the college game is more creeping into the professional in the NFL than the NFL creeping into college game. I get that. And prospects now are more developed because these guys have been training for the NFL since they're, 12, 13 years old. So they've been on this grind for a while, but when you finally get there, when you finally get to that moment, there's still an adjustment to be made. So you don't want to have your rookie quarterback go out there and struggle. A guy like Patrick Mahomes, he like I said, he only played in 1 game, and he's the best.
Wasn't it like week 16 or 17 when they had all their backups anyways? Patrick Mahomes never came into that. I know he was like a top 10 pick, but he never came in. That was Alex Smith's team. They never had Patrick Mahomes there to be the guy.
Yeah, but I'm saying they made the transition the second year. They didn't do it the first year.
What? You said you don't want your rookie quarterback to come in and struggle. Who's to say that he won't struggle second year? Because you don't know what you need. And now Andy Dalton's gone. You say, all right, Justin Fields, this is your year. Then you're like, oh, crap. Left guard has a hole in it that really would have been beneficial if we filled that in the draft, but now we're screwed for another year. Now you're 3 years into the 5-year rookie contract, and Fields is losing his legs. These guys don't have long shelf lives either. I think the Bears are very close within the next 6 years to being Super Bowl contenders. I mean, they made the playoffs last year.
Yeah, but you can do that all with not starting Fields in the week 1. You can start Fields and, from week 5 and onward. You don't need to start him week 1. That's my point, is that this notion of starting rookie quarterbacks week 1, no matter who they are, I don't know where it comes from. I get it. They're more NFL ready. They're more developed. All these players are better prospects than the ones we had 10 years ago. I get that. But you don't need to start them week 1. It's just someone that there's nothing about starting a rookie quarterback week 1 that makes them better, that makes it better for the team. You still have the 5th option if they're a first-round pick. There's nothing wrong with waiting on a guy and letting him develop on the bench. I'm a believer that players can develop on the bench. They don't need in-game reps to make sure that they develop. They can sit on the bench and learn and watch film and watch the playbook, learn the playbook, all that stuff. They can do that on the bench. They don't need the in-game reps.
I don't know. I think I beg to differ. I think that it's just different speed. You're not getting hit as hard. I mean, I know you want to get, if you're a practice player, you want to tackle him. But if you're a guy in practice, you don't want to kill your franchise QB in practice. Stuff like that. I just think it's different. And it feels different too, because you know that if you make an aired throw, they just run the drill back. But, if it's 4th and 5 game on the line and you need 5 yards to extend the game and extend your season, that's just totally different. Something you can't replicate. And I think, early as possible is beneficial for these guys, but I guess we'll wait and see.
it'll be interesting to see what happens with Andy Dalton and Fields. But I think Andy Dalton is on the right path. I thought it was a great quote by him. Moving on. Okay, now I want to know, which rookie quarterback do you think will have the biggest impact in the NFL this year for their team?
So when I came up with this, when we're coming up with topics, I was thinking and I was like, oh, this could be like, who could have the biggest impact? This is a good one because there's a few ones. We have Trey Lance, we have Zach Wilson, but then I forgot we have Trevor Lawrence. I don't think this is any debate. I honestly, this is my topic, right? This is my idea, and this was a stupid topic. And I think you're going to agree with me here that Trevor Lawrence is the guy that's going to have the biggest impact on this Jaguars franchise. Marvin Jones and DJ Chark are good, and they're going to be good with Trevor Lawrence, who is also very good and who is better than Zach Wilson, who is better than Mac Jones, who is better than Trey Lance, who's very good, by the way, but will probably start like week 5. I just think Trevor Lawrence is the clear answer here.
I would go Trevor Lawrence. I mean, if you don't go Trevor Lawrence here, I mean, he's the best prospect that we've seen since.
They said since Andrew Luck.
Yeah. So, Trevor Lawrence is a generational talent. And he really is NFL ready. Like I said earlier, that there's an argument to be made that Gardner could start over Lawrence. I don't think that should happen. I think Lawrence is one of the rare guys that you can throw him to the wolves and he's going to survive and fend for himself and actually, do well in the postseason. I'm sorry, in the regular season, and maybe make a postseason bid. Maybe. I mean, that's a little bit of a stretch, but maybe he gets the Jaguars into it a little bit. I mean, anything's better than a 1-15 record, right? So I mean, even if he goes 2-15, it's a little bit better than last year. So
yeah, hey,
I'm excited to see Lawrence.
Hey, he comes to Gillette. I mean, right? Yeah, I know you're in Arizona, but I
don't know if he comes to.
I think he does. I think they do play him, right?
I feel like they do.
I feel like they do play him, but I think it's in Gillette.
I'm excited to see. I mean, these are non-rookie quarterbacks at this point, but Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow. I'm excited to see what they do.
Obviously, yeah, especially coming back from injury.
Yeah, they got Burrow's receiver too, so that'll be cool. They got
Jamar Chase. Yeah.
Yep, they got a good offensive line now too. Yeah, the Bengals are looking good. I really like Burrow. I thought he was a great prospect. Herbert though is the best quarterback in that draft class without a doubt. This second year is going to be. I mean, the way he played last year, the way he handled himself, you never see that from a quarterback, especially one that wasn't taken with the first pick. You saw Justin Herbert do things that we haven't seen prospects do in their first year. And especially the way that whole story of him starting was, he wasn't even supposed to start. And then he just, right before game time, he goes out and starts against the Kansas City Chiefs and has a great competitive game, almost beats the Chiefs, I think in Arrowhead at the time too. So,
yeah.
And they had fans. Arrowhead was filled with fans.
You know what's funny?
That's crazy.
Tyrod Taylor is a guy that 10 years from now, you're going to pull up Pro Football Reference and look up the name Tyrod Taylor and realize that guy has played about 15 years in the NFL. And there's no reason that dude should be playing 15 years in the NFL because he's going to have a 15-year NFL career where he's amassed to like 30 games.
Like he's just always on the backup, always on the practice squad.
Yeah, he'll be like, he'll start like 13 week 1 games and then all of a sudden the rookie quarterback takes over and bam. But yeah, another thing, you talk about prospects, and I just kind of made this connection. One of the top quarterbacks in the league right now is Josh Allen. I think Justin Herbert, you can make an argument that he's top 7.
Yep.
What did those guys both have in common coming out of like college going into the draft? They were powerful guys who all they were strong arms. That's what they both, myself included. I know I'm just Joe Schmo and I have no NFL experience and I never will. And, I'm just like a 120-pound stick that just talks into a camera. But all these guys, all these Todd McShays, whoever, they all said Justin Herbert is a guy. All he is a guy with a big arm. Josh Allen, all he is a guy with a big arm. Well, now these two guys with big arms are ripping up the NFL. I mean, yeah, there's also Pat Mahomes and stuff, but it's just kind of crazy to me to think that these guys, two of the top quarterbacks in the league, both had this thing that why they're not going to be good, and all of a sudden they are.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like a strong arm you can't really develop in the NFL. like your arm's pretty much already set at that point.
Yeah.
Because it's like a muscle. It's something about muscle at that point, right? So it's hard to develop that. But if you have a strong arm, you can develop a lot of things, especially if you have a good football IQ. Because if you make it to that point, obviously you have a good IQ for the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, prospects like that, it's always worth taking a chance on. And Justin Herbert, I think you're going to look back in about 5-10 years and say, wow, the Bengals really should have taken Herbert at first. Joe Burrow was a mistake. And that's not a knock on Burrow, because I think Burrow's a great quarterback, a great prospect. But at the end of the day, too, I think Herbert's just going to be so much better than Burrow.
Yeah, Burrow had one good year, I think, and that cemented him. That's what it was. But who knows?
LSU, yeah.
That old line in Cincinnati needs so much help that it's going to be a while,
which is good.
And you need a running back, and Joe Mixon is not going to have that a long career. I don't know. There's just so much that goes into having a good football career. It's just crazy, man.
Yeah, hopefully it all works out for Burrow. But another quarterback that it hasn't worked out with, and unfortunately, another bad luck on the side, Carson Wentz's injury. He's out for 5 to 12 weeks. They're hopeful that he comes back for week 1. They're not really sure. Jake Eason, the 4th round pick they picked in 2020, is currently the starting quarterback as long as Carson doesn't come back for week 1. Caiden, what do you think about this?
Super Bowl champion Carson Wentz just lost his job in Indianapolis. That's what I think about this. He's out 5 to 12 weeks. This man has not been able to stay healthy. He's going to come back. He's going to struggle. Jacob Eason is good. I didn't think he was good. And all of a sudden, I'm going to pull this up right now. Jacob Eason last week, I know it's preseason, but I'm going to overreact. Okay, I'm going to do what they tell you not to do, and that is overreact to a preseason game. Jacob Eason was 15 for 21 with 183 yards passing. This guy, I mean, I know it's a preseason, whatever, but I don't know. They're going to run Jonathan Taylor into the ground. Jacob Eason has shown in that preseason game at least that he can throw. He wasn't a no-name. He was a big recruit coming out of Georgia. Then he transferred to Washington. He was a projected 2nd-round pick that fell to the 4th. This isn't a nobody. This isn't an undrafted free agent that was just signed and picked up to fill Carson Wentz's shoes. He didn't have the chance to perform because of Phillip Rivers last year. And this is a guy that we were talking about maybe could have started over Phil Rivers. I think Carson Wentz lost his job with this injury. Very unfortunate, but he is a Super Bowl champion. But I do think this is Jacob Eason's team now.
It's awful. I was really hopeful Carson was going to have a great year in Indianapolis, but this injury, I mean, even if he comes back in 5 weeks, what's to say that this injury isn't lingering for not even the rest of the season, the rest of his career?
And he's had that knee problem. I mean, I know this is a foot. I think this is a foot injury.
Yes,
but think about the knee injury he's had has bothered him for the rest of his career, or ever since he's gotten it.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, I think Zach Kiefer of The Athletic, he was saying, just reading this now, that so he's not wearing the cast or boot anymore at practice, and they're hopeful that he's going to be able to take walkthrough reps soon. But still, like you're within a month from your week 1 game, your week 1 matchup, and your starting quarterback hasn't even taken walkthrough reps yet because he's hurt. That's not a good sign for the.
Yeah, just think about how good this is for Jacob Eason, though.
It's great.
You go from Carson Wentz is the guy to boom, he's injured. Now I'm the guy. I get these first team reps that a guy like Mac Jones isn't getting. It's so much better for his development. He's showing the Indianapolis Colts what he can do. He's having success. I really think this is Jacob Eason's job to lose for the future, like for a long time, especially with that great offensive line that they have. I mean, I know Quentin Nelson got hurt, but he'll be back. I mean, I really think this is Jacob Eason's job to lose.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great O-line. I really like their receiving core too, especially Pittman. I really like him. I've followed him even since when he was at USC. He's a great receiver, great player. I thought he was good
too. He does.
Yep. He does all those YouTube vlogs, which is cool to watch. I was really looking forward to seeing his connection with Carson Wentz, because obviously last year he had Phillip Rivers and he was a rookie in a weird COVID year, so he didn't get a lot of reps and a lot of the time that maybe he could have gotten if it was a normal year. But now, he's in a normal year. He has a great quarterback, or he had a great quarterback in Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
I'm going to be interested to see how Eason and Pittman, coincide. I think Pittman really is. He's going to be one of those guys you look back at and say, wow, that he should have went first round.
Yeah, I think
he's going to be a great receiver.
especially then you have the running game. Marlon Mack's coming back. That's your receiving back. T.Y. Hilton's getting old, but you have Paris Campbell. I think they're going to be pretty good. I think, and I don't think they have, I'm just looking at their roster right now.
They just have a great team top to bottom, even in the organization, the front office. Those guys in the front office do a great job of making sure the team's ready to compete. I mean, they went out and they got Carson Wentz. Now, I know that might have been a backfire now because he's hurt and they gave all those picks for him. But at the end of the day, they went out and made a choice that they thought, and at the time, helped them win football games. And obviously now he's hurt, and hopefully, that we look back at this and say, don't say that this was a horrible trade and that it was a decent trade. But the Colts, I just hope they do good, because the Colts are one of those franchises that they were always good. They were always in the mix, and then they lose their quarterback, and then they just fell off again.
It's almost like the Patriots.
Oh,
I'm
man.
sorry.
All right, hey, here's the question: Eason or Mac Jones?
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. Any day of the week?
What's that?
Any day of the week you pick Mac Jones over Eason? You seem like to be a pretty big Eason guy.
This is it's totally biased. Like you can't do that to me. No, but I do think Mac Jones is better quarterback. But again, I haven't seen Eason play except for on tape. I'm a Patriots fan. Mac Jones is the guy. I was an Auburn fan through and through. He's from Alabama. I came around. This is big. I hate Auburn's like out of the window now, whatever. It's big, but I mean, I'm totally biased. But I do think Mac Jones would be the better guy. But they are similar in terms of how they're both really not mobile guys. And you know how big I am on guys who can move now in today's NFL.
Yeah,
and
especially.
Both of these guys aren't that. But I think just a 15th round or 15th overall pick and a 4th rounder. I just think you got to go with the 15th overall pick. I trust Bill, I guess.
Fingers crossed. And Bill, we trust, right?
I guess so.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining this week's episode of Football on the Barbie. We'll catch you guys next week.